welcome to today's class, Optimize Your Website. My name is John Hovey. I'm here from the North Metro Small Business Development Center. And if you're not familiar with us, we provide free one-on-one business consulting and free and low-cost education programs like this one to help small businesses in the North Metro area. And you probably found this program through our website, but in case you've never been there, it's northmetrosbdc.com. And I'm here today with Peter Prezett, who is the digital marketing dude. And we're going to talk all about optimizing your website. And I need to give a special thanks today to Brighton Economic Development and the Greater Brighton Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring this training and putting it together. What we're going to do is we've got a few people still jumping on the Zoom here. And so maybe we'll wait a few more minutes before we kick off the presentation. Some technical notes. We are going to allow cameras and microphones today for this workshop because we do want it to be interactive. And so what we'll ask is, if you're not asking a question, then we'll try to keep your microphone muted so that everybody has the optimum experience. But during the presentation, if you have a question, then you can unmute and ask that question. You can also use the chat feature on Zoom to ask your questions. And part of my job today is I'll be monitoring that chat. And so if you've got a question that comes to mind, but maybe it's not the exact right moment for it, then you could put it in the chat and I will pause when it seems like the best time for that answer as well. I also emailed out some notes to this presentation. And if you didn't receive those, then you can put in the chat that you want me to send that to you, and I can email that to you as well. But you should have gotten an email from me about an hour ago that had the key questions discussion guide for this presentation. Finally, we are recording today's workshop, and I will send you the recording afterwards so that you can review. And if you make any connections during this that you want to link up, we'll make sure that you have the ability to do that as well. So that's my speech. Looks like we've got 27 people here. And Peter, if you're ready, maybe we should get this thing underway.
All right, let's do it. Yeah, great to be with you all today. Looking forward to talking about our websites. And again, thanks to Brighton EDC and Brighton Chamber of Commerce for the opportunity to share this, and of course the Small Business Development Center as well. Good to see a few familiar faces here, Jason and others. So I've seen you on some other SBDC training. For some of you, if you've gone through the recent digital marketing boot camp, some of this will be a little bit of a repeat, but I've got a few new things that I want to share with you on that as well. All right, let me see here if I can share my screen with everyone. And again, if you guys have questions that come up, please feel free to just drop that into the chat. If you want to unmute and ask, that's fine too. So we definitely want to make it an interactive time for you guys. So hopefully you can see my screen all right. So the first section here, we're going to just do some discussion with you around some strategy and website key pieces. We're going to allow you guys a little bit of time to break out and dig into some of the questions that we'll talk about here, as well as what we sent you, hopefully in a Word document. If you haven't got that, please let John know so that he can get that over to you. That's going to be really helpful to you in terms of adding some notes and answering those questions for yourself. So make sure that you've got that. And then we'll come back from that and answer more questions and review some of that you guys may have put together. And the goal, intention, of course, that you got some real solid information, some new tools that you can use to help you really make some great improvements on your website and obviously grow your business. So the first piece we want to talk about a little bit is strategy. And I just want to spend a few minutes on here, but strategy really is kind of a key piece of everything that really drives how we make decisions in our marketing. And strategy really evolves around just a few areas. So the first piece is what we call people. So what is your target market? Who is the ideal customer for your particular business? And what kind of information do you have about them? Demographics, age, where they live, incomes, things like that. And then even psychographical data, what are their challenges that they face in particular? And do we have a better understanding of that? So we know better how to adjust our messaging and our information for them. And then what's the actual problem that you solve? So a lot of times with our websites, we talk a lot about the benefits, but we don't talk about what the real problem is. Like, what is the real problem we're solving for the clients and visitors to our website? And then your process is how you solve the problem. So this is part of what makes you unique. The way you solve a problem for your clients is what sets you apart and makes you different. And so that's your process. And then you can decide from there, how am I going to expand that message of, identifying my target market, speaking to them, clarifying the problem, clarifying my unique process to do that. Is that based on, my personality? Am I, Jake Jabs type of personality? Or am I basing this more on values, more on passion? And we telling stories? What are the different ways that we can potentially communicate that message to folks? So that's the basic idea. So those are basic questions that you have to ask. So we're not going to dig too much into this in this part because we want to focus on the website piece. But you've got these questions in your document. So as you go back and do some homework on this, you can start to clarify these questions. And so yeah, you got homework. Sorry. There's some stuff for you to do when we get done here, and there'll be more, but these in particular are questions that you definitely want to answer, even if just on a very basic level. So you have a clear idea in your mind, whether you're doing, website work for yourself, if you're working with a company that's helping you with your website, so that everybody's on the same page and we're all communicating the right message to the right people. Let me make sure I pop in the chat here. All right, cool. Thank you, John. All right, so let's talk about your website. So the first thing are just some basic key factors, right? Just some technological aspects of the website that are critically important. It's been probably almost 2 years, if not more than 2 years at this point. So Google used to look at its main search engine, which was on desktop computers. And that search engine indexes, basically takes all the data from your website and puts it into the search engine. So if someone's searching for that particular information, your website has a chance to show up in the search results. And so for, a long time, since the beginning of Google, that was all based on a search that was happening on desktop computers. Well, a number of years ago, Google started to separate their desktop searches from mobile searches and actually have a separate entry, kind of a separate database almost of the mobile side of searches. And here about 2 years ago, instead of indexing first for desktop search, they now index first for mobile. So the mobile version of your website is what Google looks at first and foremost above the version that you would see on a desktop. And it gets indexed that way. So being quote unquote mobile responsive, meaning I can look at the website, whether it's desktop or mobile, and it adjusts accordingly. Like it looks like the same website essentially, but it's adjusted for the screen sizes so it looks appropriate. So that on desktop, it's easy to read, easy to navigate, and the same is true on mobile. It's easy to read and easy to navigate, and in a way that works correctly on a mobile device. So it's kind of a pet peeve of mine. You know, I've got my phone and someone sends me a link via text message, for instance, to their website. And then I go to their website and it looks terrible on my phone. I can't even read it sometimes. It's like, why would you text me a link to your website and then it not be ready for me to look at on a mobile device? So it really is you got to look at that first. How's this going to look on mobile? How's it going to function on a mobile device on a smartphone? So super important. Another criteria that really has become important, and again, this relates back to how it works on a phone. If it takes forever for your website to load, in particular on a phone, there's a couple of challenges. So one is it's something that Google is actually looking at and measuring and making decisions about how it's going to rank your site and rank a page on your site based on how fast it loads. So you have that challenge. The second challenge that you have is just user experience. If I have to wait too long, I might not wait, right? So if I'm going, okay, I'm going to this page, I clicked a link now, you know, I pressed a link on my phone and now I'm going to this page and it's taking too long to load, I might just abandon that, skip it and go, I'm moving on to the next thing. So it's definitely becomes a whole user experience thing. We're very impatient in general with, especially on our phones when we're trying to find information on that. So how fast pages actually load on a device is super critically important. So SSL, this is the security on the site. So if you notice in most browsers now, you have this little security icon. And if an SSL is not set up, it will literally say here, not secure. And so it makes it look like there's a really bad problem with your website. Now, technically, is there? Not really. But again, you have two experiences. One, Google is not even going to rank your website at all if it's not secure. Google pretty much is going to ignore your website if it does not have an SSL installed on it. And then you have the experience of the user. If I'm loading your site and I'm looking at it in my browser and it says it's not secure, that kind of freaks me out as a user. Is it technically a problem? Not really, but it's the appearance of something that doesn't look great. So SSL. All right, so remember the goal. So the goal of having a website and marketing our business is to get new clients, right? Our goal is not, I want to get a lot of traffic. Now, do we want traffic on our website? Absolutely, we want traffic, but that's not the main goal that we're after. Because there's a lot of ways you could get a lot of traffic, but if nobody ever does business with you, that doesn't make a lot of sense to have a bunch of traffic. So our main goal is, how do we get someone to take the next step with us? How do we get them to make a phone call? How do we get them to fill out a form? How do we get them to download something that helps move them closer to becoming one of our customers? So how are we building trust? what is the content and information on our website, and how is that put together in a way that builds actual trust, so that that they're moving towards the next step. So that's the goal. The rule of 3 clicks. So the rule of 3 clicks is basically, if it takes me more than 3 clicks to get to any content or information on your site, that's too many. So how do we put information and content so it's not buried so far that it makes it really difficult for users to get to it? And so that really falls into how do we set up the site, the pages, and how are things linked together, and really looking at that and thinking about that to make sure that the visitors to the website can get to exactly what they need to get to very quickly. 2 clicks would be better. 2 clicks would definitely be better, but 3 clicks is kind of the basic rule there. So there's another key factor that I don't have listed here, but it's in the questions later. When I look at digital marketing, I try to prioritize based on what I own versus what I rent. So what do I own in my digital marketing versus what do I rent in my digital marketing? So the first thing that you own is your messaging, your branding. So, is design important? Yeah. Is it the most important? Not necessarily. But should I have a logo that demonstrates my brand? And should I have brand messaging that's clear about what my brand is? So again, this goes back to strategy, target market, problem I solve. How do I uniquely solve that problem? That really is your branding. You own that. You have complete control of that. You can take and spend as much time as you need to and work on that. So if you're going to invest in something, that's one place that you start investing in. If I have to choose where I'm going to spend money, I want to make sure my branding and my messaging is crystal clear, because you own that. You have control of it. The next thing is your database. So as you build an email list, as you build a database of clients, you own it. Like, that belongs to you. So how do I build that? And how, in everything that I do in my digital marketing, how do I continue to build that list and grow that list? Because ultimately, that's the list that I own. I have control of that list. And then the third thing is your website. So unless you're a franchise or something like that, you own your website. You have complete control of your website. You can change the content, update the information, do everything that you need to do for that website. So when you're deciding, where do I spend money? Do I want to spend money on social media marketing or my website? I only have those 2 choices. I got to pick one or the other. Invest in what you own first, and make sure that that is where it needs to be, because that's a tool that you can use regardless. So the things that I rent are things like my Facebook page. That's space that's rented, meaning Facebook lets me set up a page there, but technically I have 0 ownership of that. Facebook could shut that down anytime they wanted to. And if that was my only means of getting clients, was through my Facebook page, and now that's gone, what am I going to do? So not that you shouldn't spend time on that, and not that it may not be for some clients a great means of getting clients. But it should be an add-on in addition to, because again, that is rented space. You don't have ownership of that. And so you want to make sure that you can secure the items that you do own versus the items that you just rent. All right, so that's my speech on owning versus renting. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about content. What are the basic pages that you need to have on your website? These are handful of those, your home about page. I highly recommend having fun with your about page. So tell your story about your company, your business, make it interesting, have some fun with it. Contact page is pretty standard. What are your services? What are your products? Having a blog, we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about FAQs and SAQs. So I have down here, use video. I've kind of really been preaching this for, I feel like, forever. In the 10 plus years that I've been doing marketing consulting full time, it's like, we need more video. Like, we need to have more video. Like, there should be video on your website. Like, important pages, like your homepage, should have a video that talks about your, who your clients are and what you do for them. That should be there. Your about page can have video on it. Your contact page can have video on it. So services, products, use video to help communicate, because people are going to consume your content different ways. They might read it, but they also might watch it. And if they're trying to differentiate you between somebody else, but they got to see you as the business owner and see your smiling face and that you were warm and friendly, you're like, I kind of like this person, I would like to do business with them. And so it can dramatically increase the number of conversions that you can have by using video. So question came in here. Does a video slow down your page speed? How many videos are too many? It's possible. So it really depends on how your website is set up. There are lots of ways to set it up so that the video does not slow down how fast that page loads. So the page can load without the video needing to load. And the video only needs to load when someone actually clicks the button to hit play. So it really depends on the setup, and most of the website platforms at this point have some tools or mechanisms in place to separate those two things. So good question though. It definitely has been an issue for sure. Depending on how a video is loaded on a page, it has been something frequently that impacts that, but in most cases, you can optimize now for that video and still get a good page load speed. FAQs and SAQs. So around content and video in particular, and just search engine optimization, your FAQs and SAQs are super, super important. So FAQs are frequently asked questions. What are the most common questions people have about your product or service? And using those questions and the full question and having a video and having text that answers that question. Again, this helps on multiple levels. This helps on the fact that someone can actually take and find your content based on a search because they asked that specific question. But it's also going to really help your clients get a better idea of what you do. So by the time they're calling you and contacting you, they're ready to move forward. Like, they're ready to get to the buying discussion because they've already got their questions answered. And so let your videos do that. SAQs are should ask questions. So if you had someone in a relative in another city or state and they wanted to buy your product or service, what are maybe the few questions that you would say, here's the questions you should ask to make sure you're going to find a good provider for that service. And these are the questions you should ask. So that's what those are. A blog, should you do a blog or not a blog? Really up to you. You can you can do it or not do it. There's a lot of reasons behind that. If you do a blog, just be consistent with it. So if you decide I'm going to blog once a month, awesome. Do it once a month, no matter what. So whatever time frame you set, keep doing it. If you blog once, every 2 months, but once, here's the thing that I see, is that someone set up a blog, they did it for 3 or 4 months, and then they stopped. And it's been 4 years since they've added another blog. So that doesn't really make sense to do it that way. So if you're going to have it, have it. If you're not, then just don't. It's fine. So we're going to get into this section here a little bit here in a second. So let me just tackle some tools real quick. Let's see here. Good question here. Gretchen, would you recommend having text to answer the FAQ and video along with the text? Absolutely, do both. So the video doesn't necessarily get indexed. The content inside the video doesn't get indexed by Google, but obviously the text does. So Google hasn't figured that out yet. They probably will at some point, I would guess, but they haven't figured out how to index the content inside of video. So yeah, I would definitely do both. That way, again, also for the individual user, they can decide how they want to consume it. If they just want to read it real quick, or they'd rather watch the video, then you're letting them make the choice on how they want to consume the content. So good question. So Google Analytics, a free analytics tool. If you don't have that set up, I highly recommend getting that set up on your site. They're constantly expanding it. It really gives you a ton of data about how people are using your website, how much time they spend there, where they come from, what content they're consuming. All that information is tied up in your Google Analytics. So Google Console or Google Search Console, it's also called Google Webmaster Tools. If you've not already got set up with that, so this is where you actually submit your website officially to Google. And so as you make changes and updates, that gets sent out to Google. So Google knows to send out its what they call spiders to go crawl your website. The spiders go crawl the website, index the new information and data to make it available in the search engines to do that. So Google Search Console is an important tool to make sure you have set up and connected to your website. Get a lot of questions about website builders, what's best. If you're just early on and just kind of getting things going, if you want to use, Squarespace, or, you're doing e-commerce and you want to have Shopify, totally fine. Early on as you're kind of figuring things out. They're easy platforms to build on. You don't necessarily need to hire someone to do it. But longer term, as you go and you're really wanting to grow the business and do different things, and not always, but actually building on WordPress and having something more professional is a good way to go. But you can do an awful lot with a Squarespace or a Shopify site. A lot of people have built really good businesses on those platforms. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about kind of the SEO piece of this. So we'll get into some tools here I want to share with you real quickly. The other thing I want to mention is this conversational SEO. So if you go to my website, you'll see that I have blogs there, blog posts, and we do one blog post a month and have for the last few years. I do a video blog post. So I make some type of video and I have that video transcribed. So the difference is me writing a blog post versus speaking a video and having that transcribed. It sounds different, right? It's conversational. And it found that Google likes more conversational content. So the text being more conversational, sounds to Google like someone actually providing good information in a conversational tone, not written in a way that's trying to be forced to trick the search engines that this is good content. So that's why I do the video with a transcription. So I might write an outline, I might write parts of the script, but in general, I'm just taking a topic and talking about it and getting that transcribed. So you can make a 5-minute video, upload that video to a site like rev.com, rev.com, and it will cost you a couple dollars to have it transcribed. And then you just take that and use that. So recommended blog post count, word count, 500 words as a minimum would be a minimum aside, but you can go wherever you want to go there. So lots of people have, different approaches. You could do a much more detailed, in-depth blog post, and maybe it's 1,000 or 2,000 words. But if it's super informative and helpful, then fine. Nothing wrong with having it longer, but definitely if you want it to have a shot of getting indexed and maybe showing up, then 500 words as a minimum would be the goal on that. All right, so I want to show you a tool that you guys can use to better evaluate your website. So I'll just drop this link into the chat for you. So you can also set up a free account for a lot of these things that I'm going to show you. So they have a really good ongoing SEO tool that you can use. I think it's like $100 a month. So if you're really digging into that piece for your website, it's a great tool for that. But if you're just wanting to get some good ideas about certain things, then just using their free tools is great. And then I'll show you a couple of things you can do if you actually set up a free account. But even without a free account, so I'm going to show you client's website here. So you just put in your domain, click Analyze Domain. And it's going to give you some data. So let's talk a little bit about this. Domain authority is 19. So domain authority is a number between 0 and 100. The higher this number, the more authority that Google sees that your website has. And obviously we want whatever we can do to increase that. We definitely want to do that. So like CNN.com would be a 100 as an example in terms of website authority. So, a lot of websites are in 19s, 20s, 30s, kind of in that range, in particular for like a local business like this. So linking root domains. So how many domains are linking to the website? So this is a key factor in terms of overall ranking. Google kind of goes, how popular is this website based on how many other sites are linking to it. Here's something you can do too. If you want to compare yourself to your competition, put in your competition's website and see. So if you can go, oh, I can see why my competition ranks higher than me because their domain authority is higher and they have more sites linking to their website. So it's a good way to judge that. So ranking keywords. So these are the number of different keywords or keyword phrases that are actually indexed by Google that will actually bring up a search result for the client website. So again, the more, the better. A spam score. So this is a score between 0 and I believe, well, I guess they changed it. So it's 0 to 100%. in terms of a spam score. And it's really about the links that are coming back to the site. Sometimes you can get some spammy links, and so that really is something that if you do get that, this is a tool that you can go and find out, well, where are those links coming from? Do I need to get rid of some because I've got a high spam score? This is actually a little bit of a high spam score. So usually you want to see like 0 or 1 or 2, and it's not a big deal. But a 9 makes me want to go, I need to find out, what do we have linking, and can we get rid of some of those links that are coming in? So Gretchen asks, what would be the goal for linking root domains for a local, highly competitive business? More than your competition. That would be the goal. So it really is about how you compare to your competition. So how far are they from you, and where do they rank? And so your goal is to really evaluate them, and then go from there. What happens if your WordPress site doesn't show up at all on the Moz search? Or rather, what can one do to fix that? You probably should schedule a consulting session with me so we can dig into that. There could be a lot of factors as to why that might be happening. So yeah, some of them. How do you increase your linking root domain? So there's different ways to do that. I don't have, what I'll say is essentially you have to get other sites to link to you. And that can be done based on you having great content. It can be done based on maybe you do a guest blog post on another site. So there's a couple of different strategies to do that. There's a lot of other strategies as well, which we don't have time to get into today, but those would be a couple. So again, just to kind of, you can see here, what are my top pages? What are the top linking domains and their domain authority? So Eventbrite is linking to this site. So that's because they use Eventbrite for some of the training and information they do. And that's got a domain authority of 93, right? Very high domain authority. So that's good. So links come and go. So this is just kind of giving you an idea. Did you gain some? Did you lose some? How is that going? Here's some of the keywords that are showing up. Here's the top ranking keywords that you can see there. What's some of the data? So snippets is what's called a feature snippet, which is kind of a sidebar when in you have the main Google search, and there's kind of a sidebar of information that'll show up. Branding keywords, keyword distribution. So of all your keywords, where do they rank? In a from 1 to 3, from 4 to 10. So again, just breaking down the data some more. Who are your top search competitors? So for similar searches that you have, what other sites are coming up? So this gives you an idea of who some of your competition is. And the top questions. So nothing's showing up here, but a lot of times these are questions like how much is assisted living or something like that would be a question as well. So that's some real brief data. The other piece that's really important that I want to show you. So if you're using Google Chrome, you can use this tool called Moz Bar. So part of what's important is how you structure the content on the page. And this gives you a way to analyze that data. So this particular page is about assisted living Littleton. Like that's the main thing that I would like this page to come up for. So when you look at this, you can see in the URL of the page, it's assisted living Littleton. That's part of the URL. Inside the page title, it has assisted living Littleton. Inside the description, I've got let's see what it says. Lighthouse Assisted Living Littleton. So that's also included in the meta description. So that's kind of the title and descriptions kind of behind the scenes in the setup of the page. But again, this is a way for me to make it clear what this page is about. So Google knows exactly what's going on with that. So you can add meta keywords to a page. This is a category that's been there for a long time, but Google actually just ignores that because what people started doing was do keyword stuffing, and they would just put all these keywords. They put like 20, 30 keywords in there and think Google would figure it out. And Google just decided, yeah, we don't care about that anymore. So although it still exists, Google doesn't use it. So then you have what's called H1 and H2. So this is just a HTML tag. So H1 is your biggest, boldest headline on the page. So is the keyword phrase you're after, does it show up in your H1? And then you have H2. So this is an H2. So again, does it show up in those different categories? So the other thing is what we call alternate tags. So within the images of the page, there's an alternate tag, meaning if the picture doesn't display, it would display some text. So I can include in there Assisted Living Littleton as the alt tag. I can even have the picture itself, the physical file, named Assisted Living Littleton .jpg or whatever it is. So that way it's crystal clear what this page is about. And it's something you want to be able to do on each page of your website. So it's, again, crystal clear to Google and to the visitor to the website exactly what that page is all about. Let's see. It also, again, shows the page authority, domain authority, spam score. So all that came up in our other report over here, that comes up in this report as well. So some of these things are free. So the main thing is being able to do that on-page elements. You can look at general attributes. Again, these are not that important, so not a big deal. If you want to see links, what's the link specifically to that page? So while this is showing us to the main domain, this data can actually show us, is there something linking specifically to this page? So this is a tool that you guys can use to help you with that. Again, if you set up a free account, inside the free account, you can dive deeper into each of these, even on the free data side of it. There's a lot of information that you can access there. All right, questions? Let's see, let's go to our slides here. All right, so there's some key questions, and we're gonna go into the breakout groups and let you guys work on these. And ideally, we'll have 4 people in a room, so you each get about 5 minutes. So these first 3 questions really are kind of the main questions you want to focus on. So what action would you like your prospects, customers to take when they visit your website? What's the action you want them to do? The second one is, what information do you want them to learn when they visit your website? And then the final one is, what is the reason that they're visiting your website? What is it they're seeking? What is it they're really looking for, right? So put yourself in their perspective. Think of your website in terms of your actual client, and and talk about that. And of course, you can talk about proof. How do you build trust? Do you have testimonials? Do you have other data reports, and that as well? So anyway, we'll let you take that. So John, we'll introduce the breakout rooms. Let me see here. I'll stop sharing. And then when we come back, I want to hear some of what you guys came up with, and we can talk about that. Quick question here. How do we save this conversation from a mobile phone? I think John could probably send that to you.
Mhm.
And then the Moz bar only available with Google Chrome. As far as I know, yes. All right, what questions came up for you guys during the breakouts? Ask away, type in chat, unmute. Any questions? Come on, there had to be a couple.
Hello,
Hi.
I'm hidden over here somewhere.
Yep, I see you.
All right. So I had a couple of questions come up, but I
Sure.
wasn't sure I wanted to monopolize this time
No, it's fine.
because I have a one-on-one.
Don't
with
we?
you
Yeah, are we
this
meeting
afternoon.
later? No, bring it up to the group. That'd be good.
Well, there's a two-part question that I've got. First is, I'm getting advice on one hand that says I don't need a website.
Mm,
On the other hand, that a website is critical to
mm.
getting my name, my company out there and attracting clients.
Okay.
The challenge with that conflicting viewpoint is I have some commercial clients that I do work for that they call me when they need me and they have assignments and I go.
Yeah.
And the individual or private client that they're looking for my service as a notary public. And if they suddenly need a notary, they don't always know that a day in advance or a week in advance or a month in advance. So how do they find
Yeah.
me?
Yep. Sure. Yeah. So again, so a lot of these questions for me go back to strategy, right? Who's my target market? And how do they function and how do they operate and how do they buy and use my particular service? So it really becomes a strategy question versus just, hey, here's a marketing thing that everybody has to have a website, and like you must have a website or you're not even a real business. Well, but my strategy may not fit that based on who my clients are and based on the product or service that I do. So strategy can usually dig in a little bit and answer those kinds of questions for you. That's where I always start. What's my strategy? Who am I? Who are my clients? How do I serve them? And then that tells you then tactically how do I approach it for to be able to do that. So, and there could be different categories, right? So, some clients may not ever look at your website. In the 10 plus years I've been in business, we built well over 100 websites. For the first couple of years, I had like a one page, like nothing that was my website, even though I was building websites. So, yeah, do you need a website? Maybe. Do you have to have a website to do business? No. So again, strategy is really going to be the thing that answers that. And we'll dig into more to yours, Terry, when we talk later and we can figure some of that out and answer some more of those questions in detail. But always go back to strategy. No matter what somebody tells you, this guru says this, I should write a blog post every week, whatever. Great. Does that fit my strategy? Target market, who my clients are, like go back to strategy every time, that answers the questions regardless of what anybody is saying, whether that's me or, you know, some other marketing expert or whatever. So we all kind of have our perspectives and our take on certain things, and that a lot of times can bias, you know, our advice. But strategy is always right, as long as we know what the strategy is. And that's where you got to go back to. So good question.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Peter, I got one in chat, direct message. Where on my website would I place proof of trust? Can you talk about that a little bit?
So there's different elements that I would call proof of trust, right? So testimonials would be one thing, right? Where can I place testimonials on the website? So, you know, again, you kind of look at your website. What are the most visited pages of the website? Most visited page typically is your homepage. So should I have some testimonials on my homepage? Probably. I would probably have some there at least. Should I have a page that has reviews and testimonials, like a page, and that's just all it is? Absolutely do that as well. So if people want to dig in and see what those are and pull those in, if you're getting reviews on Google and other places, you know, like repurpose that content and put that on your website. Like, here's some of our Google reviews. So that you've got that extra content there. So in any place where you're saying, we say we're good, where's the proof? Well, here's what our clients say. We do certain thing and our clients agree. Here's what they've said. Because people trust what other people say about you more than what you say about yourself, right? Like, I will believe my neighbor across, you know, the fence, that a plumber is a good plumber and he just happens to be my neighbor. Is my neighbor some kind of plumbing expert and knows how to pick plumbers out of all the plumbers in the world? No, he doesn't. He's my neighbor. But for whatever reason, I completely trust my neighbor across the fence to tell me who I should go to for a plumber. And if you go to nextdoor.com and you look at that app, guess what? People are picking pediatricians. Like, they're not even your neighbor. They just happen to live in your neighborhood and you're both on the same app. And you're like, I need a pediatrician. And somebody, random person says, well, pick them. Well, I trust them because they live in my neighborhood. You don't know them. Like, I don't get it, but I just how it works, right? We trust what other people say about other people. I know it's hilarious. Someone's laughing. Yeah. So it's, people trust what other people say about you. So, so yeah, where can I put that? Find different places, homepage, a testimonials page, do that. And then, you know, some businesses may have more specific information. If there's, you know, certain timeframes that things get done, or there's certain data or reports that you have access to that somehow helps people determine, you know, how much better you are than someone else. That's actual real information versus just me saying I'm better than everybody else. I have great customer service. Well, who can say they have great customer service? Who can say that? Anybody can. Everybody says they have great customer service. Like, what website do you go to and they say, oh, our customer service is kind of average? No, everybody says they have great customer service. Well, how do I know? Like, what's the proof that you have great customer service? You know, so if you're gonna say that saying it doesn't make you different. Proving it makes you different. Into that. Here's a real key thing. If nothing else that you can do, if you really want to differentiate yourself, and it's like, I do this particular product or service and there's everybody else does the same thing and we're all kind of the same. How do I pick which one? Offer a guarantee. Because almost nobody offers a guarantee. All right. I'm going to do this and this is how much it's going to cost. And this is when we're going to get it done. And I guarantee it. And here's what our guarantee involves. Da, 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 and you get your money back if we don't do this. So you want to take away my fear or my concern as a consumer about picking you over somebody else? Guarantee it for me. Put it in writing, and just that alone will differentiate you from your competition without anything else being different than just adding that guarantee to it. So some ideas on proof for you there. So good question.
I see Daria, you have your hand up, your Zoom hand.
Yeah,
Nice to see you.
jump
How
in,
you
Daria.
doing?
Yes, hello. So I just want to say, for one, I love this presentation. I'm getting a lot of value from this. And two, Peter, what you just mentioned about like the neighboring effect, that is so true, because I did door-to-door sales a few years ago, and I would literally reference when I would knock on their door, it was smart home security. I would reference like their neighbor and say, oh, your neighbor over there called me over here because they have this. So it's really like a psychological thing. I agree. But my question was, what are your thoughts on your homepage having, like, instead of having a separate tab for your about me, just having like a small, like, 3 to 4 sentences about me, and then vision, mission, and purpose?
Yeah, I mean, some of this goes back to the questions that we were asking, right? So in terms of action that you want them to take, information you want them to learn, and the reason they're coming to your website, right? So if you kind of look at that, think about that, evaluate that, and it makes sense to put that on the homepage, then sure, it's fine. Again, just put some thought behind it. On what you're trying to accomplish, and put yourself in the mind of your prospect. What is it they're looking for? What do they want to know? So we tend to really do on our websites what we think, and talk about ourselves a lot, when we should be talking about the person that's visiting the website. Like, how do we help them know they're in the right place? If you know who your target market is, like, and we're talking about, all this great stuff, but we're not talking to them and about them, they're not even sure they're in the right place. So yeah, is that great to use? Sure, probably, maybe. But think about that, in terms of the actions. What's based on that, what actions should they take? Is that the right information for them? And why did they come there in the first place? And so I would just say put some thought behind it and see what you think about that. But again, if it fits, then it's probably great.
Yeah, to kind of question off of that. So like, what would it be an example of a good call to action on like the bottom of like a website?
So again, the action I want them to take. So is it to schedule a meeting, right? Do we need to schedule a Zoom call and they click a link to schedule? Do we want them to fill out a form? Complete this form, get this free, white paper, get this free checklist, put your name and email here. Any of those things are different calls to action. Again, go back, think strategy, work your way back forward, to decide which one of those things it is. So, and try to pick one if it's possible, right? Instead of 14 or 12 or 9 things. Here's 9 things you can do. Like, I'm confused. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Like, pick one thing that's the most important that that's going to help move them in the right direction to do that. So yeah, lots of ways to pick a particular call to action, but any of those would be examples of calls to action.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Other questions? Yeah, Gretchen?
I have a question.
Sure.
How you mentioned like the call to action with a white paper or something. We're managing our own website. Obviously, the majority of the people probably here are. So how difficult is that to set up where so is that different than a landing page?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, a landing page is just when you talk about landing page earlier, you're just saying that it's kind of a one purpose only page, right? It could be on your website, but normally on your website, you have your whole navigation and everything, right? You have all your navigation and different things happening. Where a landing page, what you try to do is narrow the focus. Like, you take out the navigation. So there's like a basic message and a big strong call to action, and that's it, right? That's kind of what differentiates a landing page versus regular pages on your website. But you can have a call to action on your homepage for someone to fill out a form or do that.
We have that. I think that what caught my interest of what you
Hmm.
said was if there's like a white page of, hey, these are the next steps in this situation that we take care of. So you fill out that form.
Yes.
And to get that piece of information.
Yeah, it should be. A lot of websites have basic form tools, so that you can create that form and then have it generate an email. You can use tools like, so if you've got some email system like MailChimp, we use ActiveCampaign. ActiveCampaign's our email marketing service that we would recommend and that we use. But MailChimp could do the same thing, where they have a little thing they fill out and then they get an email from MailChimp that's got a link to the document.
Okay.
So depends on how technically savvy you are. I would say it's easy, right? But I've done it 100 times. So, that's a relative thing, but it's a pretty common thing. So there's a lot of tools out there that are kind of built to do that type of thing. So whether it's just MailChimp or or the basic form tool on a lot of websites, depending on the platform, have some of that built into them as well. So
okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But a good thing to have, right? Is to have some things. Again, what do I own? Well, I own that database. So if I can offer something that's useful and helpful and I can get them, that contact information, that's gold right there. So,
right.
I think a question came in here. What's your opinion on the pop-up blocks on websites, and would you use and not use them? I hate pop-ups on websites. It drives me crazy. And I'm a marketing guy. I want to capture information. So in some cases on like what I would say is on a desktop version, like have certain things, if there's something you're really promoting, and maybe it's not something necessarily all the time, but maybe you're promoting a webinar or something like that. So maybe you have a pop-up that'll come up for somebody. Where it really gets annoying is when you're on your phone. Like it's almost impossible to navigate some sites. If you go to like 9news.com on your phone, I don't know if you guys have done that. It's ridiculous. Like I can't even get to the content on the page because I got 4 pop-ups that happen before I can even get there. So that's a little annoying. So one of the things, and I'll just show you one way to do this that's not quite as annoying. I just set this up for a client. Where it's kind of a temporary thing. So here's the website. And then, so then the pop-up is at the top of the website. So it's not overlaying over something else where it's over the content. It just pops up at the top of the site. So, so they're promoting a webinar that's, again, just a short-term thing, and then that goes away and it won't be there anymore. So that's my 2 cents on pop-ups. So use them carefully. Let's see here. For those of us with multiple product lines, businesses, would you suggest links to other businesses on the various sites? Yeah, I mean, no reason why you can't link. So if you've got multiple websites, I would guess, is that right, Carol? You have more than one website?
Yep, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's no reason why you can't link from one to the other. So maybe you have a page that talks about the other one and link back over to it.
And all of us in the breakout room, all of us had multiple business lines. So yeah.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nope. Nothing wrong with that. Let's see here. But we're kind of getting near the end here. Any final questions, I guess? Do you guys have some homework to do? If you go back and answer these questions, I think you got a little bit of work that you can do. Again, if you want to dig in, so I'm meeting with Terry later, we're going to dig into his things more specifically. You want consulting through the SBDC. We're happy to help with that. John, any final notes? We're kind of right at the end here.
We sure are. Well, I just want to thank everyone for attending today and for your questions. It's been a very nice presentation with a lot of value. And as Peter said, we're happy to keep working with you. So visit us at northmetrosbdc.com. You can find out more about how to book a free appointment with one of our consultants. It's always free. And look for a follow-up email from me today as well. I'll have the recording from this presentation and the document with those key questions on there as well. And feel free, you can reach out at any time to my email, and we'll get you connected with the resources that you need. So thank you for being here. Peter, thank you so much for putting this on. This was a great presentation. And also big thanks to the Brighton EDC and the Brighton Chamber of Commerce for funding this program today. It's very, very generous. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I'm sure that John will send out this recording as well as slides and all that. I've already sent that over to him. So you guys will have all of that so you can keep working on this stuff. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it.